Hey, guys, sorry I've been MIA. I honestly have been so dry of ideas and I finally have one. Today I'll be looking at K-pop rants and unpopular opinions on Reddit and responding to them. These opinions are not mine and I will be responding to them with my honest opinion. If you get offended, I'm sorry, but not every opinion is made for you to agree with. Anyway, let's get on with the video. Twice has the best title tracks. I haven't heard this opinion often before, but I personally think Twice has mastered the art of title tracks. Sure, their B-sides aren't always serving us well, but when it comes to title tracks, they have never missed. Ever since their debut up until now, their title tracks have always been timeless and have slapped just as hard as they did when they were first released. Whether it be their previous cute concept or the maturer take their songs have now. I agree with this opinion. I think Twice just really know how to make good title tracks. It's literally 2021 and I'm still jamming to What Is Love and Licky. I think Twice just has this sound that really is timeless, and I think that this is apparent in almost all their title tracks. Y'all are exaggerating how bad Blackpink's lyrics are. This applies to mostly anyone who has watched a Blackpink lyrics video or listened to their full English songs. I've heard people say Blackpink's lyrics make no sense at all, and that's just BS. Sure, they have repetition and a lot of it, but that applies to pretty much any pop song to exist. Examples: the day I fell without my wings, those days I was trapped, you should have ended me when you had the chance, look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. The first and second lines are about how the person is trapped without their wings, a metaphor for lack of freedom. The last two lines are probably describing how the person felt after they escaped the trapped state they were in. Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a place is meant to be mocking the people that doubted them, showing them that they got their wings, freedom, back. A lot of people were confused about the bird and place line, and where it came from, but if you look at the metaphor that's clearly presented, it all makes sense. Kick it, stay, DKWTD, playing with fire, really, etc. all have lines that make sense. They're not 21 Pilots level deep, but they're not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. I agree. I honestly think that Blackpink songs aren't as out there as people say they are. Not all music has to be on the level of having to do mental gymnastics in order to understand it. Sometimes people just want to chill and listen to a song. Blackpink's lyrics aren't even the most out there I've seen in the music industry. I've seen artists talk utter nonsense, but the song is still great. So why is it a problem when Blackpink's lyrics aren't totally deep? BTS's Hyung line is not underrated. In fact, I would go out on a limb to even say they are more appreciated than the Maknae line. I'm just tired of when I see any BTS opinions thread on Twitter. Hyung line stans will be moaning about how so person is underrated or not talked about. They are part of the biggest boy group on the planet currently. I assure you, they are not underrated. The Maknae line have more younger stans who constantly hype them up, but they also have the most rabid haters. You guys want that? Try writing your opinion about how Jimin is the best dancer in BTS, or how you love Tae's facial expressions while performing, and be downvoted to oblivion along with the passive-aggressive comments. Even Jungkook's Ace title has been up for contention. It's like the Maknae line is held to a much higher standard and berated mercilessly if they don't meet up. I don't see that happening for most of the Hyung line, at least not on here. They are loved and appreciated so much. I agree with this so much. I do think that people can say they were underappreciated, but as of now, they are loved so much by the army and barely any hate is brought onto them, whereas the Maknae line is tormented a lot, not just by outsiders but also by other army as well. At the same time though, I do think that the Hyung line can sometimes be considered an afterthought when it comes to BTS promoting them in the West and in other media. For example, the countless times a Hyung member has been left out of a promotional video. I wouldn't say they are underrated, but I would say that it sucks when they are sometimes afterthoughts. I find it difficult to follow groups who appear to have young fanbases. Basically the title, with a disclaimer: just because the fanbase appears young to me, doesn't mean that they necessarily are, or that young fans are the only part of the fanbase. And then the obligatory, there be children in every fanbase, even the groups I do like. An example for me would be Luna. I got introduced to them through the whole Stan Luna thing, which seemed pretty childish, and so I took no interest. But then I was watching Salty Tour, great show. I watched every episode in lockdowns last year. 10/10 would recommend, and Chu was guesting. So I started thinking about Luna again, but I just can't get into them because I can't separate them from this image of being for oriented at young fans. A big majority of 4th gen groups fit in this category for me. I know a lot of people on here stan TXT, but again, I just can't get into them because I have this image of quite young fans. The only 4th gen group I follow vaguely is Treasure because I watched TB and wanted to see how they're doing, but I find it difficult to watch content that isn't the music. And even the music I listen to watch because I want to support, but it's not like on repeat or anything, because it again feels a bit younger. Why don't I like younger fan bases? It seems like more stress than it's worth. This is a generalization, but I feel as though they get more caught up in fan wars, say more frustrating things we all did when we were youths, which I feel I'd almost be supporting unless I actively called them out, but I don't see the point. I see a lot more victimizing, I assume, from younger people, because surely an adult would realize that having to work a lot is just like, it doesn't mean idols have it hard, but also all this token caring, all the men hating, which is bordering on misandry, calling out everything as CA with zero effort for discussion, calling any idol or fan over 25 a hag, calling older male idols who have worked with younger female idols pedophiles. Maybe it's more than younger fans are just louder, I suppose as well. Being a fan of Kpop groups is probably a pretty short term for these younger fans. They'll be on to the next thing in a few years. I really don't see a number of the new fans, from the last year or so, sticking around that long, and groups with such fan bases will probably suffer in the long run. I still think these groups are good at what they do and they are obviously talented. It's just not for me, but I'm not avoiding a group I otherwise love because of the fan base, if you know what I mean. It's obviously not a problem if groups go for this image, or if people follow groups with this image. It's just not my vibe. I do follow RV and BP. Following the whole Irene scandal, I've noticed that the fanbase seems so young, which I hadn't thought of before. Surely a reasonable adult couldn't think bullying someone is okay because I've made up that the stylist was a male and so he must have deserved it. Tokening this fake feminism I just find so disappointing. But then I'm the same age as many of the members from these groups, so unlike 4th gen it does feel more oriented towards me. But the young fans put me off. I'm not going to stop following. I like the music, but it def made me question what I was into. This opinion I understand, but I also feel like age doesn't really have a lot to do with how well behaved a fandom is. I am a MOA and for the most part, we are a pretty chill fandom. Even if we have some younger fans, the majority and almost all of us are pretty well behaved. I also think this age thing can sometimes not apply to how well behaved a fandom is because I'm also an ARMY and BTS have a very wide demographic of fans from young to old. But ARMY gets in a lot of fan wars, so really it's your choosing whether you stan a group or not, but stopping yourself from getting into a group because of the age of the fans is something I personally wouldn't do. Black hair looks better than dyed hair on idols 9/10 times. I get that companies want to shake things up or make the members stand out for each other, but surely there are better ways to do that. They do it all the time and from what I see the fans loves it, especially with certain idols who are known for changing colors often, even though they get their hair dyed professionally and it looks way better than a normal person's dyed hair. Almost 100% of the time I think the idols look worse than they did with black hair. It's even worse when colored lenses are involved. The only examples I can think of that look better after dyeing is Hyung with brown hair, which has actually been her default color since debuting, and Hyung with pink blonde hair. I don't really care what color an idol's hair is since it's most of the time their choice, but honestly love it when a Kpop idol just embraces their black hair because I think it looks so good on them. For example, to me, one of Jimin from BTS's hottest looks is during the Fire era with his dark black hair. I think it just really fits them well and gives a natural beauty sort of look to them. Jup bubble is dehumanizing and immoral personally. No matter how tempting it might seem, I refuse to purchase bubble. It is completely dehumanizing both for the artist and the fan. It capitalizes on parasocial relationships and it feeds into some fans' delusions that they are entitled to knowing about the idol's off-screen life. Having mostly minors spent their parents' money on overpriced monthly subscriptions so that they can send 90-character long texts to strangers in Korea is a desperate cash grab. It exploits a lot of fans' needs to feel like they have a personal connection to their idols, something that can never happen. Not to mention that it's actually harmful to the idols themselves, as they are in constant danger of oversharing to a group of people that doesn't necessarily have their best interest in mind. The most recent case being SKZ Felix's weight situation. I agree. I think that parasocial relationships are very harmful, and when you endorse them, let alone sell that facade for profit, it becomes unethical more than it already is. I think a lot of sisang behavior comes from parasocial relationships, and the fact that most of these are kids worries me the most. I don't fully blame the artists, at least in the Kpop industry, but I truly blame the companies for doing stuff like this. BI needs to stop sheltering BTS from the scary evil world and let them face the storm. Like seriously. So you're telling me that the only reason why they don't appear in variety shows is because of mistreatment? That's pretty weak. All idols go through shit. And also, not every show is evil. So this seems pretty stupid to me. BI protects them as if they'll break in seconds at any comment or action. I might be alone in this, but this has been bothering me for a while. I agree. I honestly think the only reason Big Hit says this is because they want an excuse not to do shows in Korea as much, because they know most of the profit is made in the West. If you look at most BTS variety shows, out of like 2 or 3 you can see they are visibly uncomfortable. But as Big Hit has stated before, that in the US they have been called racial slurs as well as snide comments about BTS. But that doesn't stop them from coming to the USA? Something isn't adding up. Girls' Day has the best greeting intro. I'm just gonna leave this here.
안녕하세요, 마마무입니다. 안녕하세요, 마마무입니다. 안녕하세요, 마마무입니다. 하나, 둘, 셋. 안녕하세요, 마마무입니다. 하나, 둘, 셋. 안녕하세요, 마마무입니다. 안녕하세요, 마마무입니다.
Thank you for watching my Kpop Unpopular Opinions video. Again, I'd like to say these are not my opinions. If you were angry with anything that was said in the video, please be constructive in your criticisms in the comments down below. Stay sunny.